Dr. Mike Smith. I'm interviewing today Richard Benkert. And Richard, I'd like to have you tell us a bit about your company and inform us.
Sure. Good morning, Mike. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today about my company, Richard Benkert Associates. We're an executive search and placement firm that I started in 1988, specializing in the financial services industry and specifically working with sales professionals, what I call on the wholesale side of the industry. What I mean by that is if you would think in terms of a financial advisor, everybody knows what a financial advisor is.
Mhm.
That financial advisor works with their individual clients. That's the retail side of the industry. That advisor will use products in the work they do with their clients to help that client achieve their financial objectives. And those products are developed by independent standalone companies, and those companies hire sales professionals on a nationwide basis to call on financial advisors, introduce their employer company, themselves, the products, and show those advisors how they can integrate those products into the work that they do with their investor client. So that is the wholesale side of the industry, with the advisor being the retail side of the industry. We specialize on the wholesale side, placing those sales professionals with the companies that use them nationwide and covering all products, whether it be mutual funds, asset management, life insurance, annuities, alternative investments. We cover the gamut of the financial product services industry, placing sales professionals with those companies nationwide.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. So you talked about the startup of your company, which is quite a while ago, and you've got a long history here. So what would you do differently if you had to start from square one in your business today? What would you have done differently?
One thing I would have focused on more sooner than I did was to get out and go to industry conferences where the hiring managers for the kind of people that we place are typically found at these conferences if they're not on the road traveling. And that would give me an opportunity to kind of jumpstart the business by meeting those hiring managers and just beginning to develop a relationship with them sooner than I did by telephone and email. It probably took me a good 2 years to get the business to where it was profitable and paying me a decent salary. But if I could meet those individuals directly, that would have probably allowed me to jumpstart and reduce that 2-year window of time. Another thing I would do differently today is I would, attempt to purchase another search firm rather than starting my own from scratch.
Okay. Those are good points. Thank you for sharing those. And someone who's been in business as long as you have, it's easy to backseat quarterback over those decades, right? And see what you do differently, but it's also changed significantly, obviously, the industry that you're in. So what are your biggest learnings? What's the biggest learnings that you've had since being an employer? What are some of the learnings you've had being an employer since you started in your business?
It's a lot harder than I anticipated. So it's a lot harder than I think people would expect it to be when they decide they want to go into business. And it takes more time to get established than I believe most people expect it will take.
Gotcha. One of the things that I heard in my corporate life, one of the HR folks, is that we hire employees, but human beings show up.
Yeah, that's right.
So what qualities do you,
with
yeah,
all their quirks.
yeah. What qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you foster a positive, productive environment? What are some of the things you do at your firm?
Some of the qualities that I look for in employees is someone who is a self-starter, someone who has initiative, someone who is a go-getter, has some aggressiveness about their personality or their makeup. And someone who is going to put me in a position that will allow me to free up some of my time, or someone who will take some of the responsibilities I have off of my desk so that I can spend time on other things. It's not that I'm looking for more time to be able to relax and go out
Mhm.
and do things other than work the business. It's just that there's so much to do.
Right.
There really is so much opportunity out there that there's not enough time in the day to pursue and attain it all. But if you can
Right.
hire somebody who can take some of your responsibilities off your shoulders, that frees up some time so that you can spend it on those other opportunities or other responsibilities that I have.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that with us. Um, so what are some of the common misconceptions, and how do you address them? So in the business that you're in, you talked about the wholesale, you talked about different parts of that as you're going out to different companies and networking, et cetera. What are some of the business misconceptions that are out there and how do you address those?
Uh, Perhaps one misconception is that this is like a job, like
Mhm.
a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 6 job. It's not. It's pretty much 24/7.
Right.
Uh, Granted, I'm not thinking all the time about my business or
Mhm.
what I need to do with regards to the business. And I don't spend every waking minute on the business, but I do some work literally 7 days a week, 360, call it 360 days a year. I'm spending some time every day and typically a fair amount of time every day working on and working in the business. So I think that's one misconception some people may have, is that, I can do this and it'll be just like working 9 to 5. Well, it's not. Another misconception is that this may not be as expensive as it's going to end up being. And you really have to plan, you have to plan to have the resources to enable you to do it and do it successfully and do it right from the beginning. And it takes money. So you need to have some monies saved up.
Gotcha. So what do you attribute your growth to? You've been, I go back because, a lot of businesses don't, build up in the last five years or so, but you've got a few decades under your belt there in your company. So how do you attribute your growth? What's the
Uh,
factors?
yeah, by being unique. Uh,
Mhm.
First of all, the side of the financial services industry that we work in, which I explained is the wholesale side versus the retail side, is relatively unknown to most people. And so it enabled me to develop a niche working on that side of the industry. But also I would say a high level of service. We provide a high level of service to our clients in that I mean, I have, with over 30 years of experience now, certainly I have a large network out throughout the industry nationwide. Uh, I'm well known in the
Mhm.
industry, and so there's a demand for my company and our services. But also we provide a high level of service to our clients. One of the ways in which we do that is we create for every candidate that we're going to introduce to a client, we not only have their current resume, but we also prepare what we refer to as our candidate introduction form, the CIF. We call it a CIF. That's a proprietary form that we developed that enables us to take all the information that we gathered in the personal interview that we did with the candidate in order to qualify them for the job. And we'll put a lot of that information on this form that won't be found on a typical resume, so that it gives our clients much more information about the candidate before they interview the candidate, so that they can be better prepared with an understanding of that candidate's background and experience and compensation and sales numbers and all sorts of other information that we include in that
Mhm.
form.
Gotcha. So a few questions I have. So my son is in the industry that you're that you're recruiting for. He graduate of Westminster here in Missouri, and he works for one of the big firms downtown, and he's in his second year. So as you go out, and who are the kind of folks that you're looking for that you would recruit? If my son was to say, hey, is this the kind of guy I talk to, or is he really work with more senior level? How does that work?
Well, the types of people that we place are referred to as financial product wholesalers
Okay, okay,
because they work on
wholesalers.
the wholesale side of the industry,
Okay,
as I
okay, right.
described.
Yeah, that's right. Wholesalers. Okay.
Yeah, so and they're pretty readily available on
Okay.
LinkedIn, for example.
Okay.
You can find most of them have a profile page on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
But again, we have a database that is over 30 years in the
All right.
making. It contains about 16,000 of these types of individuals and their
Oh
managers
wow.
nationwide.
Oh wow.
And so we place those wholesalers, both the external wholesaler who's out traveling their region, calling on advisors directly, as well as the person who's referred to as their internal wholesaler. And that's the person working typically in the home office of the firm or remotely. And they work in support of the external wholesaler by reaching out to advisors, introducing themselves, the company, trying to set up an appointment for the external wholesaler to call on them, introducing the company's products, sending information about the products, and helping them to understand how they can use the products in the work they do with their clients, so that when the external wholesaler shows up, that person is focused on not just the company and its products, but also developing a relationship with that advisor. Because, in sales, typically people do business with people that they like and that they want to do business with. And so it's important to establish a good relationship, personal relationship with that advisor, and find things that you may have in common with them, and if it's possible, even do things with them outside of the office to develop that relationship, that friendship, so that that advisor will want to do business with the wholesaler because they like the wholesaler as a person over and above the company and the products that they represent as well.
Gotcha.
We
Perfect.
also place people that are referred to as national accounts managers, national relationship managers. These are individuals that are calling on the home office of the company that the advisor is affiliated with, and working with people at the home office level to get their company and their products approved by that broker dealer or by that registered investment advisory firm or that family office or that bank, in order to enable the wholesalers to then call on the advisors of that firm in their local area and be able to do business with them once it's been approved at the home office level. And then managers of all these people, leading all the way up to the C-suite level individuals with these financial product development and distribution companies. That's pretty much the gamut of the types of people that we place with companies.
Gotcha. And you probably do, or over someone's career, I would assume you have return customers, right? Return in
Mhm,
your database that they come back and do it multiple times. Great.
mhm.
So how do you talked a little about 360 days a year, and you work on some piece of your life, in every day on your business a little bit. And as we look in today's world, how do you balance, your personal life with your business demands? Um, you talked about that up front, but how do you really balance those two to make sure that you
Yeah,
feel like you're a human being, not just a business owner, right?
yeah. It's more than just you said you work on your business every day a little bit. It's more than a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, a lot. Yeah, a lot.
Admittedly, I'm a workaholic. I love working. I love being productive. I love doing things. I love people and interacting with people. Uh, and so I enjoy what I do. I have since I started the business in 1988. I
Mhm.
find search and placement to be similar to detective work. And when I was in college, I was a big fan of Sherlock Holmes and read
Okay.
Sherlock Holmes novels regularly. So, and was always intrigued with that type of work. And so this is kind of the same thing. I still today love getting a search from a client and participating in the hunt to try to find the best candidate, the needle in the haystack out there that's going to serve our client in the best way possible. So even though there are, others who work with me who are doing more of the fulfillment type work, I find myself sometimes participating in that just because I enjoy it so much. But to try to, make sure I'm balancing work life and personal life. I'm an avid road bicycle rider
Oh,
since
wow.
1996.
Okay.
Actually started running when I was a junior in high school in
Okay.
1973.
Okay.
And I did road races competitive running up until the mid 1990s when my body, I finally wore it out to the point where I had to do something that was less impacting on my body. And so I transitioned to bicycling, and I've been riding a road bicycle semi-competitively ever since then. So I've been physically active my whole adult life.
That's great.
And when it's a beautiful day out there, I won't hesitate to take a couple hours out of the day and an afternoon and go out and go for a long bicycle ride out on the road and just unwind and relax. Uh, and because I'm self-employed, I have the freedom to be able to do that. And
Right.
when I find the perfect opportunity to do so, I don't hesitate to take advantage of that. And that really helps me to maintain a good work life, private or personal life balance. And it also keeps me in good health, both body wise as well as mentally, as well.
Great. Thank you. Well, you're coming up in just a few years on almost 4 decades in this business. So you've seen the peaks and valleys, and no matter what business it is, I think you would be great to give some advice to entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs because you've played the long game and been successful, right? So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about how you've gotten through those peaks and valleys over the last 3.5, 4 decades.
Well, I thank God. I thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving me the opportunity, bringing that into my life when He did, and really guiding me throughout the last almost 4 decades, like you said. I'm a very spiritual oriented person, a born again Christian, believer in and follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, and so I want to certainly honor God in all that I do, and that especially comes to my business as well. But uh, tell me that question again, if you would, please.
Just any advice on the long term, over 4 decades, almost 4 decades, you've seen the highs and the lows and how you kind of, as a self-employed, as a firm owner, how do you just keep your energy, when you get a really big valley where it's not very, a big financial meltdown, right? How does it work? And then when you're obviously the booms and the busts of your business over the last 3.5, 4 decades.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, as a follow-up to what I just said, prayer
Yeah.
is certainly a big
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
And depending on God, looking for God to help me and provide for me. But also because I really enjoy what I do, and I mean, every day I get up and I'm excited about what the day holds for me. So it's not really, it's rare that I kind of get down, even especially in the financial services industry. It's very much
Mhm.
of a peaks and valleys industry. It boom and